Hey beautiful women, namaste and welcome to my live today on the theme of leadership and facilitation. This is the 8th workshop in the 9 workshop series that's a part of the Living Shakti Awake program that I'm launching right now. So leadership and facilitation. I got a cough. Excuse me. And if you want to find the other previous lives that are part of this series where I've been talking about each of those 9 workshop themes, go over onto my YouTube channel or of course in my Living Shakti Awake Facebook group, which you can request to join. So leadership and facilitation is one of the 3 themes and workshops that I've placed in the final semester of this program. And the overarching theme of this last semester is cosmic co-creation. So yesterday I spoke about, my mind's gone completely blank actually. What did I speak about yesterday? Oh, that's right. Manifestation and creation, right? So a key part of this cosmic co-creation. But I've placed the leadership and facilitation in this semester because for me this speaks very much about of course the fact that all leadership and facilitation is relational. So there is a co-creativity happening there immediately when we are holding space, when we are guiding, when we are leading, when we are teaching. There's a relational dynamic to that. So there is a co-creation. It's not a one-way thing. It's always a two-way stream, right? So there's that part to it being co-creative. Then the next part of that is that the kind of leadership and facilitation I'm interested in supporting you to step into and grow within is conscious leadership, conscious facilitation that is rooted in your spiritual practice, that is rooted in your embodiment of Shakti. So this is very different to the kind of leadership that we might see out in the world right now, or to the kinds of success or authority that we might see out in the world right now. We are part of a completely new and completely different paradigm, which brings in all of the gifts of the feminine, which have been so undervalued and ignored until very recently. And we are part of, and there is a need for these beautiful feminine gifts to take their equal part on the stage. There's this very famous quote by the Dalai Lama saying, Western woman will save the world. Don't believe in the Western Eastern analogy. Let's just forget that. But there is a point there that I will take, which is that the feminine, the divine feminine and her gifts are very much needed in the world right now. From my perspective, pretty much everything that's going wrong in the world is a result of the imbalance of masculine and feminine in conjunction with the absence of awareness, love, and higher levels of consciousness at an embodied level. But that's what I'm here to change, and this course is all a part of that. So leadership and facilitation is relational. We are here to bring in the feminine in conjunction with the masculine, and to lead from and facilitate from an entirely new paradigm that is conscious and co-creative with source consciousness, that is not about our egoic striving for power or prestige. This is about our soul. This is about our heart. This is about our divinity expressing itself into the world. So it's a very, very different paradigm. And of course, the more that we step up into that embodied expression of Shakti into the world, into our unique gifts in the way of leadership and facilitation. So, and I feel like I keep saying this, but so we are creating the new earth. So this is why this is part of conscious co-creation or cosmic co-creation. Okay. So, just going to talk a little bit about, well, I'm just going to keep talking, but I want to let you know that I'm going to bring in, as part of this transmission, 10 key points around the theme of what it means to lead and facilitate consciously, co-creatively in the embodiment of our divinity, in the embodiment of our Shakti, okay? First, just a little bit of background, but it's going to be relevant and interesting. So first off is to say that as I took stock this morning, as I was just writing a few notes down, I realized that I have been teaching embodied awareness for, this will be my 19th year. So some of you know, some of you don't, I had a previous career and background in management consultancy and marketing research. Then I moved into academia and I was pursuing a PhD in social anthropology. And then my life took a 180-degree about turn when I moved to the States to follow the man that I married and had children with. And took a 180-degree about turn when I stepped into a conscious dance class called the Nia Technique. So when I first took my first class, that would have been in the year 2000. And I knew instantly that I wanted to teach this practice. I've always been an athlete. I've always been a dancer. Being embodied is a gift that is inherent to me. And I rediscovered that joy in that class and knew I wanted to teach it. And that pivot was what set me on this course that I've now been on ever since. So I became a teacher of conscious dance. I progressed through 3 levels of intensive training with that conscious dance practice. And then I just continued on in my path, training as a body worker, a Reiki master, taking a level 1, not a degree, course in couples counseling, becoming a teacher of Kundalini yoga and meditation, taking 2 more advanced levels of level 2 training in Kundalini yoga and meditation, training as a facilitator of sexual awakening for women, and then becoming a kind of apprentice with Shakti Milan over several years, supporting her in her online trainings, and then initiating as a priestess of love and sacred sexuality through the Goddess Temple in Glastonbury, part of the Magdalene Mystery School. All the while, so that's just my background in a nutshell, right? All the while teaching, all the while studying, all the while practicing, right? So it's never been about an intellectual understanding. It's been about the marriage, for sure, of intellect, body, spirit, and heart. But it's never been about a purely intellectual exercise. It's been about practice. So I've been teaching embodied awareness for all these years. And then the teaching, the facilitation skills have grown over time of holding so many classes in the UK, in the States, on holiday retreats, at festivals, facilitating and holding space for all kinds of different groups, also with mixed groups, Tantra workshops at the London Tantra Festival, for example. There were a few years where I was running authentic relationship courses for men and women and Tantra workshops for men and women. And then my focus was very much upon women only. But you can see there's a lot of experience, there's a lot of wisdom. I don't know where my voice is going today. Hold on, I'm going to take a sip of water. So there is both an inherent passion for and gift for teaching, for sharing information, for synthesizing complex ideas and making them easier to understand, for supporting people to really embody their shifts, because it's all about the body for me so much. You know, I'm a teacher of embodied spirituality. But alongside that innate gift and passion, there has been so much experience gained and so much practice and study as well. So of course, you know, suddenly I'm here and I'm looking back and I'm like, oh my God, I've got almost 20 years experience of doing this. And I haven't yet in any of my offerings created a container to pass on the wisdom, the experience, the skills, the techniques, even though for me they're not even techniques anymore because they're just inherent, but I haven't created an opportunity to pass that on. And I really am called to now to pass on what I've learned in all those years. Because even though I don't see myself as that, like I feel so young and so vibrant and so alive, you know, I am an elder in that sense. You know, I'm stepping into that role of an elder, and I want to pass on the gifts I have. I want to pass on the wisdom I have. I want to pass on the experience that I've gained and that I've learned to the next generations who are coming behind, to you women who are going to be the new leaders, the new facilitators of both this work and your own unique gifts in the future. You know, whether that's holding a woman's circle, whether that's in your place of work, wherever that is, this skill, these gifts are needed in the world, and the feminine gifts of leadership and facilitation are really needed. So for me, this is both a personal calling to pass on, but also a broader calling. Again, I really have felt the goddess guiding me to step up myself, to acknowledge myself as a leader, to acknowledge myself as a wise and expert facilitator, and to call other women to step up into that role, into that capacity within themselves. You are needed. And you'll know if you feel that call or if you don't. But even if you don't step up into some kind of a public role as a leader or facilitator, still these skills are essential and important in your life, however you are, whether you're, you know, whether it's in the work sphere, whether it's as a mother, right? I'm a mother. I've been a single mum for 16 years. Is that right? I lose track of dates when I do lives. I can't think straight because I'm not in my kind of intellect when I'm speaking. So I've been a single mum for a long time. My kids are incredible. So these gifts of facilitation and leadership, they apply to motherhood, they apply to the workplace, they apply to any kind of arena really, not just people who feel called to step up and lead and teach a particular modality. But of course, if you're a follower of mine, if you're in this group or watching this, probably it's likely that in some way you are a healer, you are a facilitator, you are a teacher, you are a therapist in some way yourself, because these are the women who tend to be my clients. And or you are a leader in your sphere professionally, right? And you're feeling this call to bring your awakening into that environment that you're in. So let me just turn the page of my notes. So the world needs us women, and you know, there's a couple of things that can step in when we begin to speak in this way. At least this is what I recognize in myself, and I've seen it in others. So one is, who do you think you are? I think we call that imposter syndrome, right? Who do you think you are to step up and to proclaim things or to state things or to offer guidance? Or, you know, this can come in, this imposter syndrome. I've certainly experienced that on and off through the years for sure. And what I would say to that part of me or you now, even though that's not really, I was going to say it's not really active. It's not really active most of the time for me now, but it still pops up now and again. But what I would say to that part of us is, you know, just drop the whole notion of being perfect or expecting yourself to be perfect. That's a false conditioning. It's a false illusion in its own right that is there to disempower you and keep you from shining your light into the world. You know, we are always going to have things we can learn. We are always going to have places to expand into. We are always going to have blind spots. We're always going to be able to know more and become more. But so long as you are showing up in authenticity, with heart, from a true place within yourself, then trust that calling. And also know that, you know, you are going to make mistakes. Although that's how we learn, right? Nothing's always going to go right every time. That's how we learn. There will occasionally be detractors. There will be occasionally those who don't get what you're about, and that's okay. You know, not everyone likes Marmite. Not everyone likes licorice. Not everyone likes the same thing. But the point of this is that as each of us dares to show up fully in authenticity as who we are, with the gifts we have, which links me back to the previous workshops in the series, your divine gifts, your sacred service, then the people who are called to work with you, the people who resonate with you, will find you, because it's like, here's your beacon of light. It's beaming out into the world, and those who resonate are going to come. They'll be attracted. They'll feel the resonance. If you're not stepping up, if you're not shining that light fully, if there's levels of inauthenticity, or if there's so much self-doubt and self-questioning that you're not daring to put your head up and be seen, right? They're not going to be able to find you. And you're not going to be making the biggest impact in the world that you could be. You're not going to be living up to your potential. So, this whole thing of I'm not good enough, who me, it's just part of the programming, it's part of the conditioning to limit, to keep small, to hold you back from standing in your light and your power. So let's just see that for what it is. Thank it for wanting to keep you safe or limit you in some way, and just take the step anyway, right? Yes, you. There's no one else. This is the other part to this. It's like, at this time of change, I keep talking about this time of great change, which we are, we're in this incredible time. I actually never imagined I would be alive at such a time, but I also know that this is what I incarnated for, this is such a monumental, historic tide of change that we are a part of. And again, I keep saying this, but the paradigms are shifting so much. And it really is, and I know these are buzzwords, but it is about us claiming our sovereignty. It is about us claiming our mastery, and shifting away from giving our power away to external authorities, to external bodies, to external people. Doesn't matter how many accolades somebody has, doesn't matter what role they have in society, none of that matters. What matters is your inner guidance, your inner truth, your inner knowing, your inner power, and following that. That's going to become more and more important. So better to begin to cultivate and grow in that now. No one else is going to be leading us into the new earth. Stop looking for a savior to save you or to take you there. You are the one. Your children are the ones, right? We're here for this. Okay. I'm going to go on to talk about some of the, 10 key points about conscious leadership and facilitation as women that I'd like to just kind of, obviously I haven't got that much time. I'm trying to keep this to half an hour, but I just want to touch upon these 10 points for you, just to give you a little pointer and guide you towards the kinds of themes that we would be working with in this workshop. So, first one is, this kind of leadership and facilitation is embodied. You must be embodying what you are teaching. That means you are living and breathing it. You have mastered it, or you are in the process of mastering it. And so that's one side to it. But also, it's not about teaching or leading from the mind in isolation from your body, from your energy, and from your heart. So leadership and facilitation as an awakening woman in the field of Living Shakti Awake is embodied. It cannot not be. It must come through the body, right? So if you are not at home in your body, if you are not consciously aware in your body, your capacity to be a facilitator and leader in this new paradigm is going to be diminished. Come into the body. It's essential. The body gives you information. You receive so much information through all of your senses and through your energy body and through your heart. And that links me on to the second point, which is this kind of leadership and facilitation, is very much about receptivity. This is one of the great feminine gifts, our receptivity. Receptive means it's very different to the masculine dynamic, pardon me, which is to be telling other people what to think and telling other people what to do, right? This is a very different dynamic. Receptivity is about listening with all your senses. So you're not just listening with your ears, you're listening with your energy body, you're listening with your heart, you're listening with your womb, and you're receiving into your mind, but not into the monkey mind that's thinking 1,000 thoughts a minute. You're receiving into the still and open and calm mind, which is spacious. When you are in your receptivity, there is so much space to really hear, to really receive, because quite often what someone is saying isn't the true point. I see this over and over and over again, particularly with women, because we're prone to talk more. Women can talk and 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 talk, but the actual essence of what is underlying all of that talking is overlooked. In holding the space of receptivity, you are able to really tune into what is actually going on. Okay? Receptivity. I'm going to go quite fast just to keep to time and not to overload you with loads of stuff, but all of these are really rich, each individual point. So receptivity is based, again, you cannot be receptive if you're not in your body, feeling and sensing. Okay. From that comes, these are all connected, comes presence. So presence is the capacity, again, to embody a quality of stillness and spaciousness. So, for example, when somebody is sharing, you're not thinking, oh, what am I going to say in response to this person? You are genuinely holding space for their sharing, or you are genuinely witnessing from your heart what they are going through without any agenda, without any judgment, and without any mental story. So presence is the third point, and these are all related. So once again, you cannot fake presence. Presence is cultivated through an ongoing daily practice of meditation, of embodied awareness, of stillness. There is no other way to cultivate it apart from a dedicated daily practice and the practice of showing up and holding space as you deepen into that capacity. So these are the first 3 points. Okay, fourth point is experience. Everything I teach, everything I share comes from my own lived and embodied experience. I read a lot of books, or have read a lot of books too. I've been on a lot of courses. I've studied a lot, but then there is the practice, then there is the embodiment. There is nothing that I'm teaching that is not coming from experience. So to lead, to facilitate, requires you to have had the experience, to experience. And to have the experience of facilitating to build your gifts, if that makes sense. Again, that's two-pronged. Okay, fifth point. Conscious, divine feminine leadership and facilitation is empowering. Again, the old paradigm is you tell people what to do. It's kind of a very hierarchical, parental type relationship. So that's old paradigm. That's gone. This new level of leadership and facilitation is empowering, both to you and to the other or others. So even though you may have a powerful direct insight, and I certainly do, because I can typically see right deeply into a person and know what's going on for them just like that in a flash, right? Empowering leadership and facilitation is about supporting the other to come to their own recognition, to come to their own realization, to have the experience that is true for them. So we're not trying to put our own idea of how the experience they should have onto them, right? Because every single person is unique. Everybody's on their own timeline. Everybody has a different history. Everybody has a different experience. So it's not about making them have the experience that you have. It's about supporting others to have their own experience and come to their own conclusions and come to their own insights. It's empowering. Okay, 6th point is authenticity. I think it kind of goes without saying. Does it go without saying? And then my mind's just coming in and giving me counter examples. All right, well, for me, if you're in my pathway or my courses or my lineage of any part of this, it is about showing up fully, authentically, transparently, exactly as who you are, and not trying to be anybody or anything else at all. So that means owning all your shadows, owning all your humanness, and also owning all your light. It means owning that life isn't a whole bundle of orgasms and ecstasy 24/7, and that, you know, as everybody, you have your ebbs and flows, your openings and closings, your challenges and difficulties. If you don't know something, own up to it rather than pretending to know it. If you feel stuck, own it rather than pretending to be in command, right? New paradigm is authenticity, which brings vulnerability. But that's what we're here for. And, you know, do I want to say that? No, I don't want to say that. Okay. Next, point 7 on this is awareness. So as I said at the beginning, one of the key elements that I see that's missing in leadership in the mainstream in the world is awareness, is like deeper levels of consciousness. So there is both self-awareness and an understanding and a taking responsibility for and an owning of one's own projections, one's own triggers, one's own shadows and wounds. So please believe me when I tell you, I don't know a single person alive, however awakened they claim to be, who does not still have shadows, wounds and traumas and triggers, right? Even the most illustrious gurus who have been idolized and worshipped, which again, I think, well, I know that time is over, right? They've had flaws. They've been abusive. And the most dangerous thing is when that's not owned and seen. So awareness, self-awareness, but also a commitment to cultivating deeper levels of embodied consciousness consistently on an ongoing basis, right? Because we're here to cosmically co-create with God. We can't do that if we don't have a direct line to God through our consciousness practice. Then everything that we're doing and saying is just going to be coming from the ego and from the mind, which is what's happening in the world right now. And look at what a mess it's creating. And this isn't about you having claims to the one ultimate truth, you know, because, well, in my experience, the more you dive into true consciousness and love and connection with divine feminine, you understand that there are many truths, but it's inherent in that for you to express the truth that you feel and connect to within you. And that doesn't need to clash with anybody else. But typically when you're doing that, then there will be resonance with those who are on the same wavelength and frequency. It just happens. Hang on a sec, got to drink another drink. I've got 3 more points to share. Boundaries. This has been a big learning for me. because my conditioning personally was to be an overgiver and to be codependent in romantic and intimate relationships, I noticed that I brought aspects of that initially into my teaching and facilitation. So both in terms of being a rescuer, really important to understand your own, like I said, awareness, to know your own dynamics and to not hold strong boundaries. What I've learned, the more I've grown in this, is that it's fundamental to be able to hold boundaries with compassion. So from a place of love, but they can be very, very firm boundaries around time and energy, because otherwise you are going to get burnt out. Simple as that. So boundaries is key. And linked to that is self-care. Again, I've had a tendency, you may have a different tendency, so I'm not expecting you to be exactly like me, but I've had a tendency to overgive. Just overgive. And that can lead me to be drained or to overdo, another old habit of mine. So then I'm depleted and I'm not showing up in full power. So your patterns may be different, but whatever your pattern is, self-care is fundamental. Taking time out to meditate, to be in nature, to be with others, to dance, to laugh, to journal, to do all the things that nourish you. Good food, exercise, pranayama, self-care, essential. It's not, I often say to people who have a regular 9-to-5 job and don't fully understand what I do, they might see the way that I live and think that a lot of it isn't really doing much, because I dedicate so many hours a day to meditation, to walking in nature, to self-care. But if I didn't do that, I could not show up in the world the way that I do. It's as simple as that. So for me, that's part of the job. So finally, the final point that I'm going to share of these 10 points today is balancing masculine and feminine energies. So Tantra, of course, is about this beautiful unification of Shiva and Shakti, the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And even though we are women, we are rising and we are bringing the divine feminine up and through and with us. She is always there in balance with her inner masculine. And there can be a beautiful dance between these two energies as and when needed in our field of leadership and in our field of facilitation. For example, sometimes being in receptive mode needs to be switched up, and there needs to be a time to stop listening and to stop talking and to stop sharing and to go into stillness or to take an action, for example. So that's when the clarity of Shiva comes through and it's like, okay, no more talking, let's go into stillness. Or it's time to take an action now, just for an example. So the balance of masculine and feminine qualities is a part of the ultimate divine feminine embodiment of leadership and facilitation. So we are not all in our feminine without the masculine there to hold us, to move through us, to support us in being present and in guiding us to take action as and when is needed, right? So there's this beautiful blend of the two. Okay, that's my sharing for today. I really enjoyed talking about this. I've obviously got a lot to share. This actual workshop will be happening in October this year, October 21st, 23rd. And as I said, it's part of the third semester of the Living Shakti Awake program. That has 2 strands. You may have heard me mention it, but let me just quickly share again. So the 2 strands are the workshop series, 9 themes, 1 weekend a month. And the other strand is the Evolutionary Sister Circle, which starts tomorrow evening. So they're designed to run in parallel. You can go with one, you can go with the other, you can go with both. The Sister Circle is a closed group of 12 women who are committed to journeying together in their evolutionary process and to meet every fortnight for me to guide you in tantric practice, meditation, goddess honoring and ritual, embodiment practices, and then also holding a space for sharing, for insights, for questions, for answers, for mutual celebration and support. But it's very much the focus is upon our mutual evolution through the body. A closed, contained space for women wanting deep devotion, dedication, and guidance from me as a wise mentor, holding that space, and in that way also passing on the gift of leadership and facilitation by modeling it for you. So that starts tomorrow night. Please reach out if you want to know more. I'll also put the link with all the info below. And yep, I will be live tomorrow with the final theme, which is stepping into the unknown. Ooh. See you then. Lots of love. Namaste.